Okay, went to the market today, actually yesterday, and they had a bunch of grapes that have some mold, some bad spots on it. So we thought, pick these up for 12 bucks for the entire case, West Side Market, and we're going to try to make some white wine. The first thing I got to do is take all these grapes out of there, wash them thoroughly, and pick out all the bad grapes so we don't ruin the wine with the bad grapes. And then I'm going to cut the film and come back, and we'll put all this stuff into a container with Camden tablets. The Camden tablets will stop any natural yeast from taking over our batch of wine and basically making a giant pot of vinegar out of it. Okay, so this is what we have left out of all those grapes. It's a 32 quart pot. It's about half full, and that's the waste. So there's quite a bit of bad, but not too bad for 12 bucks for that whole flat. That's not too bad. So we're going to try that. We're going to put Camden tablets. If you wonder how that's spelled, right there, CMPDN. Camden tablets will stop the production of yeast, which will keep this from spoiling any further and allow it to make a good wine. Okay, so this is 1 tablet per gallon. So basically what I'm going to do is there's 2 gallons of water I put in it. I'm going to throw a 3rd tablet in because of all the fruit that's in there. So I'm going to put 3 tablets just in case that juices out a little bit and the 2 doesn't quite do it. So I put these tablets in here. They will dissolve. I'll stir it around a little bit. Let them dissolve. Let it soak for 24 hours. And then after 24 hours, stir that around, dump all the water off, and you're ready to do your smash. And so I'm going to cut this and we'll come back to that when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so didn't really care to sit and videotape all the smashing of the grapes. Not too exciting there, but here's all the smashed grapes. And one of the primary things with making wine is making sure that all your tools and utensils are sanitary. One step, you put a little bit of that in your water, and it sanitizes anything that goes through that water, so it will not pollute your wine and cause it to spoil and turn to vinegar. Most important part of making any kind of wine. Second most important part, selecting the correct yeast. There are many different types of yeast. The BM4x4 is actually a red wine yeast. This K1 B116 is white wine and some reds. And this is actually for white wine, the Côte Blanc, I believe. So getting the correct yeast with the correct alcohol content and the correct amount of sugar. So what we've already done, and we're going to demonstrate the measurement now. I've added some sugar to this because it wasn't very sweet. This is a hydrometer for both beer and wine making, and this will allow us to measure the amount of sugar that's inside of that wine, so we know about how it's going to be when it comes into becoming wine. It'll taste right. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm putting a screen basically to get a nice clean area where I can draw juice from the must without getting the hard chunks and particles of grape. And we're putting that inside this tube. And you want to fill the tube almost to the top. We'll go ahead and do that. Now my first measurement before I added any sugar was nowhere near enough sugar to reach the level that your wine should be. And I'll describe that here in a minute. You want, basically what you want for a dry wine, it's going to be under 1.2. If you want a medium to a medium sweet wine, that's going to be, on your measurement, going to be between 1.2 and 1.4. And if you get above a 1.4, that's going to make a pretty sweet wine. Okay, so we've done that. Now you just put this in here like this and you give a little twirl to shake off any air bubbles that might give you a false reading. an air bubble will cause it to raise up a little higher than it should. Now you should be able to see, if I could get that, see the right there, the 30. So I'm at like 1.3735 ish. So that should make a medium sweet. Should be pretty good. So that's pretty much it with the hydrometer. You check that, and you're ready to do your yeast and get the ferment going in this pail. And I did disinfect the pail and everything. All the utensils must be disinfected thoroughly. Okay, now it's time to do the yeast. And what I've done here is I've heated this water up to 105, 104, 105. You want it between 100 and 105. Put your yeast in there. And if you get it too hot or too cold and the yeast won't activate. You get it too hot and you'll kill it. It just won't work. Your wine will fail. So you just want to stir that up a little bit. Should get a little muddy looking. If your yeast is activating nicely, which this definitely is. You can see that. Now something that does happen is when you pour this into your wine, into your must, the must is much colder. I had that sitting in the basement. It's probably 60 degrees or something like that. Maybe a little warmer now since I've been smashing grapes in there. 69. So that could really slow down the yeast production, so you want to keep an eye on that. And once this comes up to temperature, you'll want to keep that between 72 and 75, 76 degrees. We have a spot in the house here that's pretty close, so we'll try that and see how that pans out. Once it comes up, this activated yeast will actually kick in, and that ferment will work out just fine. Okay, so like I said, we're going to dump that yeast in here. We'll stir that around real good. We shall check this tomorrow, see if it's come up to temperature, and probably within the next day to a day and a half we should actually start seeing some bubbling activity. Might take a couple days, it depends on how quickly this stuff warms up. There we go. So all I do after that is cover it with a towel, put a book or a pan or something over top the towel just to keep it on, but you want to leave it so it can breathe, so the air can get inside there, and just let it go. And we'll check it every day. Punch down the solids because they'll float to the top after it starts to ferment. You punch that down every day, and the skins actually will make your wine more complex. If you like a really sweet wine, you can take the skins out of the wine, just use the juice, bring your sweetness up, and it'll be a clean, sweet wine versus a more complex, semi-sweet wine, which is what I'm after. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so I didn't record all the times that I've done this, but this is the third time. Day 3. You can see all the nice bubbles. That yeast is doing its job in there. It smells like wine too. It's already starting to ferment. It starts to smell really good. There you go. Day 3. Just got to punch that down a little bit, get it stirred up, and then let it sit. It should sit probably 12 to 14 days before we clear it all off and put everything into a carboy without the solids. Okay, so just to sort of save a little time, I just went ahead and poured all the juice into the containers. But this is what I'm making, and I know I said before I really don't care for box wines, but the availability this time of year to buying actual good quality grapes is difficult. So I thought I'd go ahead and try these. This is a Shiraz style wine. There's the juice. All I've done so far is put the juice in and stir it up a little bit. Blackberry concentrate. And that'll make about 5.5 gallons of blackberry. That's about 5.5 gallons of the Shiraz. And then I did a single, just a 1 gallon of this Cabernet Sauvignon World Vineyard. what I'm getting ready to do here is actually take the readings with the hydrometer for each one of these wines. Okay, and I guess I just said that I just poured the juice in the bowl or in the containers, but actually what I had to do is they're concentrates. So I have to add water to each one of these to get the volume that they're actually made to produce. So they give you like 1.5 gallons of concentrated juice, and you add the rest in water to get the volume that you want. Okay, so the different types of yeast, they have different types of yeast that are best suited for different kinds of wine. This one I chose, the BM44, which is supposed to be really good for red wine. This is Lalvin K1 V116, and that's good for reds and white wines or fruits. But basically this is going to be the Blackberry, so that's why I chose that one. It's supposed to be decent for fruit wines. And then also using the same one here for the Cabernet, just to try it out because I've never actually made a red wine with that yeast. So we're going to see how it turns out. So here is the hydrometer results of the Cabernet. So I just filled this up. We'll go ahead and put this in again. I know I've mentioned this several times, but make sure that you absolutely have everything sterilized. I use 1 step. You basically put a tablespoon per gallon of 1 step in your water. Anything that goes through that water is sterile. And I've never lost a batch of wine to bacteria or anything like that. So it works very well. Okay, so what we're doing here is basically we have some oaking that come in the pack. I wasn't going to use it, but we went ahead and decided to go ahead and throw that in. So you get water boiling. You want the chips hot, some hot water, and we'll dump those chips into that, turn the heat off, and let them soak. That kind of softens them up and gets the flavor going before you throw it into the wine for the fermentation. Then back to our reading. What we're looking for, actually, if I can get this to focus in on the stick. Okay, you can see the 1.0. Down here is 1.05, 1.1. We're looking for 1.12 to 1.14. That's what we're looking for. So I did actually just take a reading that got caught. I added, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 cups of sugar to that. And let's see what that actually does to the reading. I'll let you get a better look at the reading. Okay. So you can see that's right about, sorry about that, 1.12, so that's almost perfect. So here's your one up here. There's 1.05, there's 1.1, there's 1.11 and 1.12, so we're right perfect for that medium sweet. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to cut this and we'll do the next 2. Okay, so we got 2 more of these to check the hydrometer on, so we're going to get some juice out of here, like so. Now we did stir this up really good. Basically you want to stir it for about 2 minutes to make sure that it's all mixed up really good, because it's concentrate and you're adding water. And now we may end up having to put some sugar in. Unfortunately, you may not have enough sugar for it, but we'll just check it and see. Might have to run to the store and get some sugar. I know they have sweeteners too that you can use versus just cane sugar, but sugar works fine. Okay. Take our meter, which I've already washed off. Let's drop that in there and see what we get. Yeah, so that's going to need some sugar. That looks like about 1.062. So we need quite a bit of sugar. We're probably going to need about 1 pound of sugar in there. So I'm going to have to run to the store and get some sugar for that. Oh, it looks like my meter's got a crack in it. It's broke. Oh boy. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get some juice out of this one. This is the Shiraz. Now Shiraz is usually a very sweet berry, so this should should be pretty sweet, but we'll see. Okay. Get our meter in there. And that looks like it's going to need some sugar. 1.08. So both are going to need some sugar before I can get the ferment going. So we will run to the store and come back to the video in a minute. So we added more sugar. We took a reading, and I'll just show you. That is looking to be about right there, 1.1032 or so. So we're a little higher than what we like, but just about right. Now all we do is we put our yeast. You stir your yeast, you get your water at 105 degrees, add your yeast, get it constituted, and then you dump your yeast. I'm going to put, you only really need 1 packet per 5-gallon container, but since these are more like 6.5 and 6, I'm going to put 2 packs in each one. And again, this yeast is Lavin BM 4x4 and Lavin K1 V116. And actually, you can use, I have a different one here. This one makes a higher alcohol content, the EC118. I've used that for other wines and it's turned out very good with about a 19% alcohol. This time around I want a little less alcohol in it, so I've switched the yeast just to try them out. So that will be it. Put the yeast in, cover it with a towel, leave it open for the first 12 to 14 days, where we'll come back and rack these off and put bentonite clay on to clear them, to make it they're crystal clear. And we'll get to that in the next video.